Hey everybody, Wes here. Thanks a lot for tuning in to my Sweet Home Famicom review. Now, I just wanted to give out a quick disclaimer letting everyone know that this is actually an older video that I had uploaded onto another channel, but I was actually talking to another YouTuber, Daria from DariaPlays. She covers a lot of role-playing games and actually has her own Sweet Home review. Really good stuff. Anyway, I was talking to her. She totally encouraged me to upload this video up to my channel, so that's exactly what I'm doing. Now, you may notice that my voiceovers, my editing may not be up to par with my more recent work, and that's simply because this is an old video and I've just gotten better since then. But regardless, I like this review, I like this game, so I'm going to go ahead and share it with you all. And I'd just like to say thanks to Daria for encouraging me to do this, to upload this review to my channel. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link for her Sweet Home review down at the bottom of the description because it's really good and you need to check her channel out as well. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a look and see what Sweet Home is all about. The movie Sweet Home was released in movie theaters across Japan on December 15, 1989. The plot revolves around a film crew that enters the infamous Mamiya mansion in search of the invaluable frescoes left behind by famed artist Ichiro Mamiya. Of course, the mansion has been abandoned for the past 30 years and is rumored to be haunted. On that same December day, to coincide with the movie's release, Capcom introduced Japan to the survival horror genre with Sweet Home the video game exclusively for the Nintendo Famicom system. Now at the time, and still today, releasing a movie and the licensed game that accompanies it on the same day were not commonplace. What makes this partnering release even more unique is that the movie's director, Kiyoshi Kurosawa, oversaw development of the game, while Capcom director Tokuro Fujiwara viewed the film prior to navigating which direction the game was going to be headed. The result is an 8-bit masterpiece, which not only captures the eerie macabre essence of the movie, but also pioneers a new type of adventure and genre, which at the time was brand new and fresh: survival horror. Now I know what you're thinking. You hear survival horror and immediately think of Resident Evil, also made by Capcom. Coincidence, right? Not really. In fact, Resident Evil had been intended to be a remake of Sweet Home before Capcom decided to slightly alter the plot and turn it into a new game altogether, what the Japanese know as Biohazard and what we here in the States refer to as Resident Evil. The numerous similarities between Resident Evil and Sweet Home are quite abundant. The setting is in a large abandoned spooky mansion where numerous puzzles await to be solved, bloodthirsty undead dogs roam the grounds, and to build suspense, there's even an animated cutscene for when you unlock and enter a door. The animation was strictly to build suspense and not for masking annoying load times. Your party begins the adventure each equipped with an item specific to their skill set, kinda like Jill Valentine and her lockpick.
Here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
All 5 unique items are mandatory to escape the house, using them at specific points in the game to advance further. In addition to the innovation of a new genre, Sweet Home also has unique, groundbreaking gameplay mechanics which borrow elements from other genres, specifically role-playing games. In 1989, the RPG's popularity in Japan was peaking and became the most heavily sought-after genre in all of video games. Games such as Dragon's Quest and Final Fantasy cemented the love for such adventures within the Japanese community and continues on to this day. Sweet Home borrowed many elements from RPGs and combined with horror-themed environments, created a game aimed at an adult audience which would be absolutely unheard of back here in the United States at the time. It's easy to see why this game never made it over here to the Western Hemisphere, but the adult-themed plot was just one of several reasons America could never handle such a title gracing the shelves of retailers such as Lionel Playworld or Toys R Us. The gameplay mechanics are extremely unique and innovative, at the time much too complicated for American households. You begin from the front room of the mansion, receiving a chilling message from the ghost of the great artist Ichiro's wife, Lady Mamiya. From there, the goal to find and preserve all of Ichiro's frescoes, exquisite watercolored works of art painted into plastered walls, ends up revealing clues about what happened in the mansion over 30 years ago in the past. Your photographer is able to reveal clues by snapping pictures of the frescoes. That is, unless it's covered in dust, in which a special vacuum is then used to clear the canvas. Again, another specific tool that is needed to uncover clues to proceed forward. The unique mechanics I had mentioned before are immediately implemented, as the first room you encounter is littered with goods for your party to collect. The party system is quite innovative as well. Your crew consists of 5 members, but the caveat is that you can only have a maximum of 3 per party. That means for the majority of the game you'll have 2 teams, one of 3, the other made up of the remaining 2. Of course you can create any combination of party members as you wish, but keep in mind that once encountered by the enemy, the screen will change to a more traditional battle screen such as Dragon Warrior, and that party of 3 will have a much better chance of disposing enemies than a party of 2 or less. But here's another facet that makes this game so intriguing and trailblazing for its time. Your party members not involved in the fight and remain dormant are able to join the battle by simply choosing the join command. You then have a limited amount of time to reach your party engaged in battle, regardless of where you are located in the house. This is an invaluable tool which I use consistently to not only keep all members amongst the living, but to also ensure that all party members received a consistent supply of experience points, which, like any other RPG, increases your level and makes you all the more stronger. And you want to make your party stronger, alright. Numerous monsters lie in wait in the Haunted Mansion, and there are traps galore, sometimes with floors so pockmarked with pits they look like Swiss cheese. Fall down a hole and you're dead. For good. That's right, you heard me. Once you die, you die. You're dead. No resurrect spell, no church or priest to revive you, nothing. You're dead and you stay dead. Sometimes it simply takes trial and error to figure out how to get past a certain room. Luckily, you can save the game anywhere at any time and can restart from your last save, so you'll want to save as often as possible. The interactive menus as you search throughout the house are a bit strange and unorthodox, and will definitely take some time getting used to. I actually had to restart my game about 4 times before I finally started getting used to the menus, the gameplay mechanics, the battle system, and the necessity to share and trade items amongst your party members. Another similarity with Resident Evil: each character in Sweet Home can only carry a maximum of 2 items. Items in your possession can be exchanged for new items found on the spot, leaving behind the item you gave up for the new one. Kind of like the storage boxes in Resident Evil. Just one more thing to worry about in an already anxious predicament: storage space. But once I began getting the hang of the game and its quirks, I learned how to be effective and extremely efficient with my strategies, character placement, inventory handling, and battle methods. It's impertinent to learn these nuances in order to succeed. And for an 8-bit game, these attributes were extremely intuitive and complex. And let's be honest, in 1989, the RPGs that we had here stateside were Dragon Warrior and Final Fantasy. There's no way in hell Americans would be receptive to the vehicle which drives Sweet Home. Just another reason this game didn't find its way over here. Now, while playing Sweet Home, it's just impossible to not notice the numerous similarities with Resident Evil. Aside from exploring a gigantic mansion with numerous rooms, puzzles must be solved and diary entries lie strewn about, which piece by piece paints a dark and unfathomable picture of the unspeakable horrors that transpired in the house. The Nintendo of America censors wouldn't even entertain the notion of letting this title share the same air as the US, but that's not even the half of it. Death scenes accompany the loss of party members in all its blood and gory glory. Flesh falls from the bones of Yamamura, just as it does in the film. And do you think Nintendo of America would ever allow the skeletons of children to be portrayed in such a manner? Oh, hell no! And the mystery, once uncovered, is so dark and disturbing, it's amazing that such a yarn could ever be spun on what was considered to be a kid's toy, the Nintendo Family Computer. So it's easy to see why this game had never found its way overseas. That is until fans took matters into their own hands and translated ROMs which had been circulating around the internet for years. Today, reproduction carts of Sweet Home can be bought for a pretty penny, retaining the English adaptation so generously conceived for us by die-hard fanatics. Or you can play the original Famicom version on the Retron 5, as I am here, and utilize a translation patch to change all of the text from Japanese to English. A Famicom copy of Sweet Home is going to be about half the price of a reproduction copy. So how is the game itself? Where does it stack up? Well, considering the nature of the game, I'd say this one is years ahead of its time. No way in hell had we ever seen anything as close to Sweet Home back here in the States in the late 80s and early 90s. It would have been way over our heads at the time. I recognize this, and it's actually one of the subjects that so resolutely attracts me to this game. When I wasn't playing it, all I could think about was popping it in. When I slept, I dreamed within the dilapidated mansion. And as soon as I finished the game, I started a new one and played through it again. And again. This is the best new 8-bit game I've played in over 20 years. And by that I mean, out of all the 8-bit Nintendo games I've experienced the last 20 years or so, the games that I hadn't played during Nintendo's peak, old games which were played for the very first time, this is hands down the best. Sweet Home is innovative, spooky, unpredictable, and addicting. And coming from Capcom, you know you're going to get decent graphics and music with a soundtrack that chills to the bone and sets the mood for this horror-infused romp. This game is easily in my top 10 of all-time best 8-bit games, as I have never seen anything quite like it for any 8-bit machine, and 26 years later, I'm still blown away by how progressive and ahead of its time this absolute masterpiece is. This game is the Legend of Zelda of the survival horror genre. It embodies anything and everything that should be found in a horror game, and nearly perfects what it in fact had created. A one-of-a-kind bleak adventure which has only been emulated and imitated to any form of near justice by Capcom themselves with their brilliant Resident Evil series. I recommend watching the movie as well, which can be seen right here on YouTube. You may want to complete the game first, as to avoid any spoilers and shocking turn of events within the game, though the two aren't so interwoven that one will give away the story to the other. Like all licensed games, there are plenty of differences within the game and film that neither one should spoil the other. Either way, you owe it to yourself to play this game. If there is one 8-bit game, just one, that I could recommend to anyone that's looking for a new adventure, this is it. Hands down. No contest. This is the most unique, innovative 8-bit experience I've ever had in the past 20 plus years, and it would be a damn shame if you missed out on this one. Don't waste another second. Celebrate Halloween in Capcom's Home Sweet Home.